Which agreements do you need to do rent to HMO and rent to SA so that you're doing it compliant, safely, and that you and the landlord are protected? On this video, I'm going to reveal it all. I'm Simon, rent-to-rent specialist and mentor, and over the past 5 years, I've built a 7-figure revenue rent-to-rent business, and I've helped hundreds of other people replace their income through properties they don't own. If that sounds good, you're in the right place. Now, the channel's growing every single day, but one thing I've noticed is that around 50% of you are not yet subscribed. So do me a favor, make sure that you're logged into your YouTube account. At the bottom of the video, you want to hit subscribe, and to the right, there is a bell. And if you hit the bell and click all right, then what that means is you're going to get notifications every time we drop new content. And it's pretty simple, really. The more traction we get, the more views, the more subscribers, the more comments and interaction, the more I'm going to invest into this channel. So that means more content, higher quality content, potentially collaborations and better quality stuff. So if you're enjoying the content, hit the subscribe button. So there's 2 different types of rent-to-rent agreements that you're likely to need for residential rent to HMO stroke rent to SA, all right? 2 different types. So the first type of agreement you're gonna need is a rent-to-rent management agreement. And it's essentially the usual agreement the landlord would use with a letting agent, but on 2.0 level. It's got loads of different clauses and intricacies that work with the rent-to-rent business model. So just to give you an example, there's a termination clause in there so that if it doesn't work for whatever reason, you can hand the property back, because you don't want to be lumbered with this property for 5 years if it's not working. It has the guaranteed rent in there, it has the term, it has the refurb, cosmetic refurb terms and conditions within that, and so many more little clauses which lend itself perfectly, all right? So that's the first agreement you're going to need. Then the next agreement you're going to need is a company let agreement. And the interesting thing here is you don't necessarily need a copy because the letting agent are going to want to use theirs. But what you need is the understanding of how to interpret the agreement they send you, what clauses you're going to need to change, what clauses you're going to need to remove because they force you into illegally subletting territory, and finally, what clauses you're actually going to add to give you that additional protection that you need. So clauses you are going to remove, clauses you're going to edit or amend, and then clauses you're going to add. And that's what you're actually going to need in order to do your deals with letting agencies. And you know what? So many of you have hit me up for these agreements or advice on these agreements over the past couple of years that I've actually decided to put all my agreement templates, and I've done guide videos, additional like guide documents. I've done how to even pass a letting agency check in the first place. I've done how to overcome objections for agreements. You get copies of all the different agreement templates you're gonna need, heads of terms, way more. If you do feel like you need a bit of help there and you're lost like I was, or you're a bit apprehensive to use an agreement you got from like a course, but there's no explanation of what it means, or maybe you got an agreement of Tom on Facebook and you're just like, I'm not sure, head over to rent2rentagreements.com and I've got you covered. Now, before I leave you, there's 3 key things that I do not want you to do because they're massive mistakes in terms of the agreement. So whatever you do, whether you head over to the site and grab the educational templates and stuff or not, do me a favor, there's 3 things never do. Number 1, never sign an agreement that you don't understand, okay? Really dangerous. Number 2, okay, never ever sign an AST for rent to rent, because that means that you are illegally subletting the property, and that's super important. And last but not least, do not use an agreement that you got from Tom on Facebook, right? Because I tell you now, if something goes wrong, Tom is going to be nowhere, and Tom doesn't know anything about it, all right? And you can get yourself in deep And I know what it's like because a few Toms gave me agreements in the past and I had to invest thousands in solicitor fees to get the right agreements. So that's all from me. I hope you found this useful. Head over to rentagreements.com if you need a bit of help, and I'll speak to you next time. Thanks.